we are recording. Hello, Ivan. How are you, my friend?
Very well. How are you doing, Michael?
I'm doing fantastic. So I'm kind of pumped. I'm really excited about this topic. I know I've been getting a lot of requests about this particular topic because a lot of people are familiar with tarot cards. They're familiar with the ruins, but they don't have a lot of background knowledge, and especially myself. I mean, I've had tarot card readings done before,
Okay.
and it always surprises me how freaky, I mean, amazingly accurate these cards can be, and especially if the practitioner is amazing too as well. So that being said, what is tarot cards?
Some people have a misperception of tarot cards as being a fortune telling, like a crystal ball. And I've always used, forget who mentioned it back in the 60s or 50s, and that there he says a crystal ball is a window into the future, and tarot cards is looking into a mirror back at yourself.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, in tarot cards, the way I see it, it gives you a different perspective of what you're thinking towards a problem or a question that you have, and it's almost like getting good advice from a best friend. Seeing things in a different way, a different perspective, a different point of view that you haven't thought of before. And tarot cards, whether you're doing a reading for yourself or you're doing a reading for someone else, it gives these suggestions and these hints. Look, if you continue on this path, what you're doing, it'll lead to this. If you want to see things change, then you're going to have to work on doing A, B, or A, B, and C to get to that point. Tarot cards gives you the work to do. People expect good luck and fortune and stuff to fall in their lap, and that's not the case. You have to do the work for it, and that's what tarot cards is about.
All right, so what's the difference between oracle cards and tarot cards? Is there really a difference?
Oracle cards, I noticed that oracle cards tend to give a key word right on the card, like a meaning and keyword right away. Where tarot cards, I find there's multiple meanings and definitions for cards, but also what I learned from Christine too is oracle cards, I mean, she reads them intuitively. Same thing can be done for tarot cards as well too. So anything can come to your mind when you're reading the oracle cards, you're reading intuitively. I mean, I know tarot follows a traditional sense. There's traditional guidelines and groups, like the different suits in tarot, applying to the different elements like fire, water, and earth, feelings, logical thinking, material things, and creativity. Oracle card seems to be what you see on the card. That's the message for you right away. And a lot of people, I see another misconception online that a lot of people think that oracle cards are all just warm and fuzzy messages, but you could get a warning from them as well too. Sometimes a shadow message as well. With tarot, you get them both also as well. And that there you get warnings and you get positive messages to help push you along on your way. So that's my definition. I could be wrong, but that's how I see the difference between oracle and tarot cards. That tarot cards have more traditional boundary and guidelines to fall in within compared to oracle cards.
Okay. So that being said, with the oracle cards, the tarot cards, they have like cups and wands and things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe can you just break that down and just describe to people what that kind of, like you said, like the guidelines of what those specific cards mean and the other cards too as well? Because when somebody says, oh, you get the 5 of Pentacles. Okay, so what does that mean? Or you get the 6 of Wands, or you get the, the swords, whatever. Maybe can you just, give us a little information on that?
In a tarot deck, you have minor arcana and major arcana. Arcana it means secrets, and the minor arcana cards are cards that represent daily events, things that happen on your daily routine. It could be people that you come into contact with that you don't, almost like secondary characters as well too, that don't seem like they make an impact on your daily life, but they do in some way. They're woven in the fabric of what you do on a daily basis. The major arcana are major events that happen in your lifetime. And that, so within the minor arcana, you have the 4 classes. You have the cups, which stands for the element is water, which is emotions and feelings. You have swords, which represents air, which is logic, thinking, and decision. You have wands, which is the element of fire, which is creativity and your passion. And you have pentacles, which is earth, which is a grounding energy, which is material possession or finances as well too.
Okay.
And apart from those 4 classes within the minor arcana, you have what they call a court cards, which is your king, queen, knight, and page, which most of the time represents actual figures or archetypes that you come across with in your daily routine in your lifetime.
Okay, so let's break those down. So, okay, so the king, a queen, you said a knight and a page. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let's break down. Let's start with the king there. So, who would represent? What archetype would represent the king in your daily events?
The
We'll
king
go from there.
the king represents control.
Okay.
So anybody controlling it could be. I mean, back in the traditional sense, they saw the king as something in controlling more as like a father kind of controlling manner. But in these days, it could be anyone really. It could be someone it could be a leader, it could be a political leader, it could be a teacher, it could be a boss. You know,
Okay.
just somebody who asserts control and is comfortable with their status.
Okay. And then depending on whether it's a cup or a pentacle, that would be affecting that particular thing. So,
Yes.
so if it was like the king of cups, it would be somebody who's controlling emotions. Would that make sense?
He's in control of his emotions, and yeah, you're exactly right. It's each core card represents a certain characteristic to those elements, to those factors. Where the queen is somebody who'll listen. She consoles people as well too. She'll give her advice and she'll hear your story and she'll give you her thoughts as well too. So she's somebody who's receptive, but also will reciprocate it back with what she thinks concerning that topic or subject matter.
Okay. So she is kind of like that real mother energy towards in that card.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Then we have what, the knight is the next one?
The knight is somebody who takes control. The knight represents action. And sometimes that action is not to the best effects. Say, for example, the Knight of Swords is somebody who will take action and who's focused on a goal. But there might be a bit of bridge burning along the way. He doesn't care if he cuts ties or if he hurts anybody along the way, as long as he reaches his goal. So the Knight of Swords is a little bit dangerous. Okay. Whereas the opposite, you would have the Knight of Pentacles, who's somebody who's pragmatic and likes to take his time. Another clue and trick within the tarot cards, the traditional ones, is each knight is on a horse. Each knight, except for the Knight of Pentacles, is on a work horse, and a slower horse, a horse that represents work, putting the time, sowing the seeds. Like I said, being pragmatic and just taking your time and waiting for a slow success. So the knight represents action, and action representing whatever suit of cards he's in.
Okay. That's, I'm so glad you're on, because, all the times that my friends have done readings for me and I've done cards and stuff like that, and they just, okay, you got this card, but now it's starting to make sense now. So now I can say, okay, that's what that means. That's what, it's so fascinating. So now we got the page. So let's talk about the page. What's the page represent?
Page is a young person. He's fresh. Life has just started for him. He wants to absorb as much as he could as much information. So you would be looking more of a personification of a student, somebody who's just learning and just wants to take in as much information as possible going on around them.
Okay. Yeah, that makes total sense there. Now, how many of the major arcanas? Is it Arcana? How do you pronounce that? Arcana? Is that correct?
Arcana.
Arcana.
Yes.
So we have, those are major events that happen. So when those are drawn in the deck,
Well,
those
those are the court cards that we just described. And the court cards is part of the minor arcana.
okay. So
Yeah.
now we have major ones too, right? And those are
Yes.
the major events that happen in our life.
Yes,
How
those are
many-
the ones when they show up in a reading that you have to pay attention to.
Okay. So those are really the main things, because those are kind of the overall theme of what's happening in your life right now. And again, does that represent past, present, and future? Or is it just mainly what's happening or was happening in the past?
It depends how they're laid out in a spread. If you're using a 3-card spread, like a past, present, and future, where that major arcana card lies, yes, that's what it's going to represent. It could have been something tragic or a major life-changing event that happened in the past that explains where you're at now. It could represent personally what you're going now. If you're going through a major life-changing situation, and in the future, something to watch out or look for if it does fall in the future card position in the spread.
Okay. So let's talk about spreads for a second, because there's so many variations of spreads. I've seen 3-card. I think I've seen it's called the Celtic Cross,
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken. And I can't remember the other ones, but again, there's multitudes of different ones. Which ones? Okay, maybe just kind of, okay, so we did the 3-card one, like the past, present, future. What does the Celtic Cross look at? And maybe describe what the Celtic Cross is for those who are listening.
I love doing the Celtic Cross one. That was the second spread that I learned. And it's the one that I offer in my 60-minute service. That's the one, because the Celtic Cross spread, it's a 10-card spread. And it's very well detailed. It offers a lot more perspective into the querent's question. And there's also in the Celtic Cross spread, there's also some positions on the spread that represent what's going on in your conscious, what you think you see and what you desire. And my favorite is the card down below, which is what's going on in your subconscious, what's pushing you to ask that question, or pushing you to think a certain way that you don't realize why you're asking that question. It's like the subconscious root of why you're where you're at presently, or why you're asking that question in the first place. And the Celtic Cross spread also includes external influences, what's influencing you where you're at now. There's another card that represents how you are to society and the people around you. And then it also represents your primary goal, what you think your goal is, and the end result. After you go through the Celtic Cross spread and you move on up to the tower, that's the main goal. This is the main decision that's going to happen. If you stay on that path, if you don't make any changes, this is going to lead to this.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's very profound. It's fairly detailed too, as well. It's a little more detailed than just a 3-card spread. And
it is, and it's more of a traditional spread in European cultures.
Okay, so with the spread and stuff like that, when you're doing the cards now, right now because of COVID and things like that, you've been doing it mainly online. So how is it basically, are you tapping into somebody else's subconscious mind when you're basically dealing the deck? How does that work? Because I know, with tarot cards, it's a bit of a divination. Or when somebody's in person, does the person select the cards? How does that work for you? What's your process?
The way that I do it is, when the person asks the question, I then ask them permission. Could I connect with your higher energy or your spirit energy? Do I have permission to tap into your energy for this card reading? And then when they say yes, then we go on with the card spread. I'll shuffle the cards. I'll divide the cards in 3 piles. And I like to always have the querent participate in having them believe that they're part of the reading, that they're choosing the cards. So when I have the cards laid out, I'll usually ask them, do you want the left, middle, or right pile? And whatever they choose, that will go on top of the whole pile. Then if it's a 3-card reading, I'll draw the first 3 cards off that top into a past, present, and future spread situation. And then later on, when we do the reading, I'll draw the card from the bottom of the deck, the exact bottom of the deck, and that'll be the shadow card, which could represent, like I explained before about the Celtic Cross, it could be something subconsciously going on in their mind on why they asked that question, or it could be a blockage as well too, something to look out for. That's how I do the reading. But online, at first I was skeptical of doing the card readings online, but when I started doing the live events on Facebook and other social media platforms, it did connect with people. So that's what convinced me that doing them online still instead of in person, there is a connection, and the messages do resonate with the person asking the question.
Yeah, it's really profound. I know it's changed my ability to read too as well, because most of my readings I've done is basically in person, and it was really easy when I made the transition. I was kind of like skeptical. I mean, because I'm so used to tuning into somebody sitting in front of me and their energy. It's just so much easier. But then again, it's just connecting in a different way. So when I did my readings, I thought, okay, it's just another way of tapping into that person's energy and asking permission to, like you said, once they open up, and then it's no really much different than if you were there in person too, as well. Okay. With tarot cards, there's been a lot of controversy about tarot cards in the past too, as well. And again, it's more like really ancient history, but do you find people still have a little fear around tarot cards? When people say, "Oh, I'm a tarot reader," they kind of pull back a bit.
I'm actually surprised that when I, like my day job, sometimes my customers, they'll find out that I do tarot readings and they seem to be more intrigued about it and surprised, but in a positive way, about tarot cards. And you can see on social media too, it's the accepted norm. Everybody's doing the tarot cards. Yes, there is that stigma attached to it from the past, especially if you're looking at traditional tarot decks like the Rider-Waite deck, where there's a lot of doom and gloom. I mean, you got to keep in mind too that when tarot started in the mid 14th century, you had the bubonic plague, the Black Plague going on. So a lot of that reflected in the imagery and the beliefs of the cards. And with the church trying to put a stop to it and putting a ban on tarot cards, it's that dark imagery and that stigma carried on for so long. And I think it became more acceptable when the New Age, the New Age came in, like in the late 70s into the 80s, especially back in the 60s a bit also too. It just became more acceptable within certain groups. And with tarot cards, you have a lot of biblical references and symbols, a lot of biblical symbols on the cards. You have angels, you have all kinds of stuff going on in the cards. It's not all doom and gloom. Even, for example, the death card, not everyone, but the perception of death card, people think means you're going to die. You got the Grim Reaper, with a sickle and that there, and you got some of these traditional cards, you see some heads rolling on the ground and that, but the death card just strictly means transformation, change is going to happen. It's going to be an end of a certain chapter, something going on in your life, and the beginning of something new moving on. So once you start learning the meanings of the cards, you'll see a different focus, a different light on these cards. The Devil card, another one that people are afraid of when they see the Devil card, it's talking about your vices, losing control to negative habits, negative routines in your life, whether it's it could be alcohol, it could be smoking, it could be too much, it could be eating too much ice cream. It could be, it's a card that's telling you to break those chains and get that control back. And so I think if people take the time to understand the meanings of the cards and not just take it as face value, the images, they'll see that there's a lot more that tarot could offer and how it could really help you out, help you find yourself, to figure yourself out, and to help others as well too.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, is to have actually educate people on this, because I mean, in my circle, it's kind of the norm, but a lot of people are new to my podcast, and they're just looking at their spirituality, and they're looking for different things that they can expand on, and they always have that curiosity, but sometimes they don't always have the right information available to them, and to really explain to them, okay, so the death card, it's not mean that you're going to die.
No.
It's basically means that, okay, there's a change. It's a death of the the old self, or something, is changing, which is it could be a profound, amazing things. And you kind of want change. You don't want to be stuck in the old crap. And then the same thing, like you're saying, the devil card, like we all have vices, you know, I drink a little too much coffee some days, I used to have a few too many beers and things like that. Binge watch some TV, there are a lot of different things that we do, but, knowing that and understanding, okay, that's not what it really means. Like, okay, the devil means, yeah, we all have that little devil in us. That's just part of being human. So it doesn't mean like the actual devil is around you.
I like to use too, when I'm doing my weekly card of the week posts and or talking about the card, I like to refer to the death card as the changing of seasons from fall into winter, and then the renewal will be spring once again. There's always that wheel of life, that annual wheel that's just keeps, what dies comes back new again, and it's just the same cycle over and over. That's the lightest way I can use to explain stuff like the death card and any card representing transformation.
Now, are there certain patterns that you're kind of seeing right now with just the way the crazy times that we live in right now? We had COVID, we had all this craziness, and all this energy is shifting, and humanity's consciousness is shifting. Are you finding similar patterns and themes throughout your readings with the cards? It seems to be consistent, that's coming through.
What I've noticed when I've been doing my weekly collective messages or the card of the weeks, I've been getting a lot. I don't know if it's the universe or the cards trying to tell me something, or if it's something they want me to let people know, is a lot of just taking charge and being in control again, and taking time, taking advantage of the moment now. Now's the time to create your own voice and stand out amongst everybody else. Create your own power and magic was the message I had last week in my video. And I've been seeing a lot of those messages of taking your own, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's, it's so valuable. I mean, I know a lot of people were concerned about what's been happening right now. I know I've lost my job. I've been out of work for the longest time. And this really, again, there was like a death of all my old stuff, all my old work, everything just kind of fell away. And I basically had to make a choice. It's like, okay, do I want to kind of get out of the spiritual closet, the psychic closet, and finally embrace who I am and take charge and, create some magic and like create this podcast. This podcast was a lot of it was, I mean, part of it was created out of just the necessity to keep me busy, but also too, I realized it could really help change a lot of people. And I've been getting a lot of messages from people all over the world now, like, just thank you for having this person on. Like, I listened to your podcast, and okay, I've started changing my diet. I've started, healing my wounds, and they're just taking that. And I just find that it's just so empowering for people. And I really appreciate that work that you do too, as well, and providing those messages.
Thank you.
Yeah. So another thing that you do too, as well, is ruins. Now, from my understanding, every time I think of ruins, I think of some like movie character, some witch with some bones, throwing it on the ground and saying, okay, the bones are saying this, but it's a little bit advanced more than, somebody throwing bones on the ground, right?
It is.
Yeah. So maybe can you just talk about what is ruins? And again, just like we did with tarot cards, maybe explain what ruins are and how you incorporate the ruins, because you're doing ruins and the cards together too, as well. So you're getting like a double dose.
Yeah, because I've noticed when I got into tarot and I started joining certain tarot groups and on social media, everyone's doing tarot. And the best thing about tarot is, misconception is, anybody who wants to take up tarot or study tarot, don't take in everything at once. Just focus on tarot. There's a lot of people that think like, okay, I got to do tarot. I got to study astrology. I got to study crystals. I got to study the lunar phases. No, that's all bunk. Focus on one thing at a time. I don't do crystals and I don't do astrology. And I appreciate my friends who do that. And I respect that. It's just not my thing. It's not my focus. Maybe later on I'll get into it. I'll study that stuff. But for now, I started strictly with tarot, getting the definitions and the meanings. And while I was studying tarot, runes popped up, and that piqued my curiosity as well too. Also, what piqued my curiosity is in a way of combining runes and tarot together in a reading that I don't see many people doing online. Like I mentioned before, a lot of people are astrology and tarot and astrology, tarot, and crystals and whatnot. And that's not me. I wanted to be the black sheep and stand away from it. That's where the rebel part of Rebel Star Tarot comes from. I always done things my way. And that's so getting to runes is interesting because the first thing I noticed about the meanings of runes is you could have 3 to 6 different tarot card meanings in one rune.
Oh, wow.
The meaning, yeah, the definition and the meaning of a rune and what the rune's about is so vast that I started to journal. I got into runes last summer, and I couldn't find any online courses at the time to get into to learn more about runes or this or certification. That what I've done is I bought a bag of runes. It came with the guidebook. I learned the initial definitions of it, and I started journaling. I woke up early in the morning and I would pick one rune from the bag and I would meditate with that rune. I also started meditating at that same time, and it took a while to learn how to meditate properly. And I would meditate on that rune and imagine the image of the rune in my mind while meditating. And then I would journal it down. It would be like a rune of the day. And then at the end of the day, I would write down anything that happened during the day that is in relation to the meaning of that rune. So I slowly try to incorporate the runes and learning the runes very slowly daily with daily practice with the meditation. I'm getting more resource books, and I created a manual on the side of all the different definitions of the runes from the different books all on one page for that rune. And I tried to find I would circle the common definitions for each rune. But runes is not just a symbol. It's an alphabet. It's a belief. It's connected with the universe. It's a communication between the rune caster and the divine, the gods. It's communication between you and the higher self, the gods, back and forth. And it's not just a symbol to put on jewelry. It's just not like, you have to know what you're dealing with to the extreme. When you're dealing with rune magic, combining certain runes together could bring bad luck, or could give bad luck to somebody, and combining other certain runes together in rune magic could be like a good luck charm. And runes also too, besides talking about it being an alphabet, a symbol, cosmology definition, in that it's also, you can use it as a talisman. If you're carrying a rune with you, like I always carry one in my pocket every day. If you're planning on going on a vacation or traveling or whatever, there's a certain rune that you carry to wish you good luck on your voyage. If you're about to do a meeting or a speech, like I drew the rune, Ansu's is the rune of communication knowledge. I have that in my pocket right now for this podcast, just so I don't stumble on my words, and I'll show you right here.
Okay, fantastic.
That's Ansu's right there. That's communication and knowledge.
Wow.
It's also good for studying as well. So gaining the runes, once I got into it, I realized this is a lot more. It's vast compared to the tarot studies I was doing, and I'm still doing. Like I always tell people, I'm always a student. I'm always learning and absorbing. So runes, it's huge. It's also it has that religious connective kind of energy too, where you have to believe what you study. You have to believe it's not just a matter of drawing a rune with a card and that's it, you're done. You have to like really take it in and adapt it to your daily life.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have to live it.
So
Yeah,
it's like a practice. It's like it's an encompassing practice that you do too as well. So
exactly.
so with the ruins, okay, so with the tarot cards, there's a certain amount of cards. Is there a certain number of ruins within the, I guess,
Yes.
the collection?
The first rune alphabet is referred to as the Elder Futhark. Now, Futhark represents the first 6 letters of the alphabet. F, which is Fehu, U for Urus, TH combined together for Turzaz, A for Answers, which is the symbol I showed you, R for Rado, and K for Kanaz. So those first 6 letters represents the alphabet, the Elder Futhark, and there's 24 runes in that alphabet.
Okay.
Later on in time, different societies changed around some of the letters and they eliminated some of the letters. So the Elder Futhark became the Younger Futhark, which is 16 rune letters. And then when that culture, when the Vikings came to England and stuff like that, you have the Anglo-Saxon alphabet. It changed into that, which involves 32 runes. So the number count went back up again. And that, but the runes that you see in pictures and still carved on rune stones in Scandinavian countries is the Elder Futhark system. That's the original Old Norse language and reference.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that question, like where was the origination of ruins? But obviously, it seems very Nordic and very Viking in its origin, stuff like that. And when you were talking about that, I could just feel that energy around that. It's just like I'm waiting for Thor and Mjolnir and everybody else to show up. You know, it's quite amazing stuff. Now, with your process, okay, so you got your deck, you got your ruins, right? In your process, when you're sitting with somebody, you talked a little bit about how you pick the cards and working with that. Now, at the same time, are you picking up the ruins at the same time with the cards and just kind of letting your own subconscious kind of play with it and communicate with theirs and picking up the
what I'll
both
do,
the rune and
I'll pick a card first and then I'll draw a rune. And this has only been recently I've been practicing and blending the two together. So far I've been doing one card, one rune. And where rune casting, I'm already practicing when I'm doing runes by itself, rune casting, I'm using 3 runes and I'm using them. What I like about the bridge between tarot and runes is you could use the same card spreads and replace the cards with runes. It's the same thing with runes. You could have a past, present, and future as well too. That's one way with rune casting. You could use spreads, or you could throw. You cast the runes onto a cloth, and you intuitively pick. I keep my eyes closed, or you can use a pendulum, and I pick 3 from the pile that are laid out before me, and those are my 3 runes I'm going to work with. But when I'm combining tarot with rune cards, like I mentioned, I'll draw 1 tarot card, 1 rune, and then I'll collectively find a message or a connection with both of them. I'm starting to read them intuitively now and see, hey, what are these 2 different factors? What are they giving me? And that's how I come up with my collective messages for my weekly videos or for my card of the week posts I do every Sunday.
okay. So do you find that either sometimes you get it, do you ever get conflicting things where you have one card saying one thing, you have a rune saying another thing, and it's kind of like it almost kind of cancels out? Or and then do you also have a time where maybe the cards are overshadowing the rune, or the rune message is overshadowing or overpowering, I should say, the tarot?
That's a good question because I don't read tarot cards in reverse. A lot of people like to read their tarot cards in reverse. That I decided that intuitively, or it'll come to me if I'm reading the cards face up in the right direction. If one's not agreeing with the other, then I'm seeing that more as a reverse card. So I apply that with the rune and the tarot card. If the rune and the tarot card are both, if there's something conflicting, intuitively I'll choose which one will be the reverse meaning. And not all runes have a reverse meaning. So, and in the other way around, when I have two cards that are completely positive, I mean, a card and a rune, they're positive, like they're both talking about the same message. That's a double confirmation right there that message is meant for you for this week or for that day.
Okay. So let's just talk about reverse meanings. I know you mentioned that. So somebody's listening to this and they're kind of going, what is he talking about? Reverse meanings.
Reversal cards. Some people like to shuffle their cards and have cards in reverse. And reversal meanings is, it could go both ways. It could be the opposite meaning, the opposite of what the regular card would say. So say if the card says, hey, luck is coming your way, and that card is reversed, no, bad luck and bad fortune is coming your way. Just be careful. In certain suits, like the suit of swords, I find have a lot more of a negative vibe, whether they're reversed or not. So if you have a card in the suit of swords that already has a negative meaning and that's reversed, that could double negative impact the meaning of that card. And does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I just want a little bit of clarification for people who are listening, because a lot of people who listen to the podcast don't always understand what tarot is, and that's kind of why I wanted to have you on and really explain the understanding of all the different terminology. So when somebody says, "Oh, I went to this tarot card guy and I had to reverse this and I had to reverse this," and a lot of cups and wands were showing up, and so it just gives them a little basic idea so they can have actually conversations with people and, like you say, become more mainstream. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I went to go see Ivan. Yeah, I had a reading with Ivan, and it was great. And that's what it really is about too, is helping people get that information. So with reverse meanings, now there's also a thing too as well. I don't want to talk about it negative, but how do you discern to have a right reader? Because with, like you were saying, like, if somebody says they got bad luck, that you have possibly a bad luck, right? Again, that's that fear, right? And it's that fear that can be instilled in somebody, right? And they can get trapped in that. And unfortunately, through my own past experiences, and for people who I've read for, there's a lot of people who are not the most scrupulous type of people, and they will use these forms of divination, things like that, to kind of manipulate them into certain actions that is not necessarily beneficial for them. How does one kind of discern who's a good reader?
There's a lot of readers out there. Con artist kind of readers and fortune tellers that would like to instill fear and panic into the customer and thinking, hey, for this much more money, I'll remove this curse or whatever's going on. With tarot, it's not like that. With tarot, I mean, I read the cards honestly how I see the cards. I'm just a tarot card reader. Like I explained before, I don't draw from astrology. I don't draw from any other source in that. When I'm reading tarot cards, I'm reading them as they are. Whether it's a face value or sometimes it's an intuitive message I'm getting through. If something negative does come up in a reading, you have to be diplomatic about it, and you have to show compassion and say that, hey, this card is saying this, and you always want to offer the reader a positive solution or a different way of thinking to get away from that. You don't want your customer or client walking away thinking, hey, I'm feeling crappier than before now after that reading, or you want them to walk away with some positivity or a focus on how to make things better. You have to be a life coach in a way also too. And when you're doing these card readings, and that's why I try and convey in my collective messages also too. In my weekly posts, that if there is something negative, I always try and find an alternate solution and leave that message on a high note. And also, it's a code of conduct. I mean, I'm part of an accredited group called the International Practitioners of Holistic Medicine out of the UK. So there's certain protocols and things I have to follow. One thing is I will not mention in the readings about death. I don't do medical or health readings. I'm not I mean, see a doctor, see a professional if it's a health thing and that there. I'm not going to give you any health advice or any false health advice. And I don't do third-party readings, which we call tarot spying. I will not let you know if your sister's third cousin's boyfriend is cheating on the mailman, and that, I don't do that. When I do a reading, it's for you, straight for you specifically, and that's it. So I hope I answered your question, Michael.
Yeah, you did. And I really appreciate that because it just emphasized everything that I do too as well. And it's funny, like this, so many times have, hey, I got this question. I just want to know if somebody's cheating on me. And it's like, oh my God, I cringe at those things. So maybe we should have maybe we should do a podcast on the things not to ask during a reading.
Well, that's another thing too. Yeah. I mean, it all comes in people that come in, you have to help them formulate their question, because tarot, if you want a yes or no answer, flip a coin. If you're coming in for a tarot session, be prepared to ask a question that's going to put work on yourself, that you have to do the homework. Don't ask, when am I going to win the lottery? Or when am I, or, how, when am I going to meet the man of my life in that there? You want to ask questions of how, how can I advance my job? How can I further myself? It's questions where it sounds like you're open and you're ready to do the work yourself, which not a lot of people realize or understand. So sometimes when these people come in with questions and they have to ask questions that's not too open, it's closed, it's specific to a certain thing, you want to help them open it up more, so the message you get from them is well perceived.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. And again, that's part of the work too, as well, is helping people educate with better questions. And I've seen the trend change over the years. So once I first started doing readings, it was all basically, what do you think about this guy? Should I date this guy? Should I do this? What about my finances? What about my job? And it's a little bit more deeper meanings. And, I love those people who are willing to look at themselves and to go deep into to either work on themselves and better themselves as a human being. And that's part of the collective, you're working on yourself. So I absolutely love that. And I commend you for doing that too, as well, because it's really important when you're doing this work that you want to give, positivity and uplifting messages, but you also want to give people that sense of empowerment. And
Yes.
that in itself is so profound. I always kind of pride myself on that ability. When somebody leaves a reading, that they feel empowered. They don't, sure, maybe they got some information that they weren't ready for, but it empowers them to make the changes. Now it's right there. They can see it and they can make that empowerment change, and, giving them the ability to make those lifestyle changes to get them to that future that they've always really wanted.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so fascinating. So I know you were talking about the ruins and stuff like that, nothing online. Are you actually going to start creating your own online, teaching online class for ruins?
That's interesting, because I originally was going to get into doing, before I got into the runes, I was looking into doing, the basic tarot courses, the intro to tarot, but that seems to be during COVID, it's popped out of the woodwork everywhere. Everyone's offering that. And with me having problems finding a intro to rune course and stuff, I was lucky enough to find one. How did I find that? Through Facebook somehow. This lady, Diane, down in Connecticut, she was doing an intro class. It was 3 weeks, like one night of an hour and a half night out of a school. It was like a night school kind of thing. So I took that course. It was very interesting. And then I'm currently finishing off my rune divination certification that I'm doing on the website Center of Excellence. They have a lot of good online courses in that too. I'm close to the end of that one. That was a 150-hour course.
Oh, wow.
Alone. So yeah, I started that a few months ago. And I definitely would lean more towards doing something for runes, because there's not a lot of it out there. At least just the basics. Just the basic info is a lot. It's a lot to take in. So I would see myself doing that first before doing any tarot one. I'm really curious to see, once COVID is done and people go back to doing what they were doing before, I'm curious to see how many social media profiles drop off. How many people are going to stop doing daily tarot spreads and posts and stuff like that, and because during the past year, it's gone up like crazy. Now you understand why I try to do something different and take the left-hand path and trying to incorporate runes with tarot and stand out a bit from the norm of what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And once again, I have respect for people who do talk about crystals and do the astrology stuff and that. And it's just not my thing, but I'm not going to bash it just because it's not my thing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Right. You gotta choose your own path and stuff like that. Now, I just got a question. Since you developed or started, doing with the work with tarot and the runes, stuff like that, has it changed you musically at all? Have you noticed that, music has changed? Has it grown? As you got a passion back, a fire back with it? Is there a creativity or something different with your music now?
Well, I stopped doing music. Once I started tarot was the end of me playing music. And that there, I think I picked up the guitar twice since April of 2019. That's when I got into the tarot stuff. But speaking about me, yeah, I mean, with me doing the runes, I got into more of the Nordic traditional music. That helps me study. That helps me do my rune casting and that. It also brought back me listening to heavy music again. I used to listen to a lot of death metal in the 90s. I played in a death metal band. That was one of the first bands I played in high school. And it's got me into checking out all the bands, not just from back in the day, but current bands that are playing the traditional Swedish death metal sounds.
Geez, it seems so synchronistic that you chose runes or runes chose you just because of all that history.
Yeah, and also not just music, but getting into tarot and getting into runes, my lifestyle has changed too. Not only has it helped me open up with, like, the horse blinders are off, basically. I'm able to see things more clearly. I'm able to appreciate more when I go out on walks with my wife, like nature, appreciating the small things in life. I've taken more of a minimalistic approach too with my life. So I've thrown out a lot of things that no longer serve me. I drink my coffee black now. I only have like my coffee on the weekends. I used to have coffee like every day, with almond milk and that there. So my taste buds have changed. Same thing with tea. I drink tea straight. I grew up with a British grandfather, so I always had milk in my tea. And so I drink those straight. I hardly, I think I had my first beer last weekend at my in-laws, and I haven't had beer in a year.
Oh, wow.
I used to be big on the microbrewery beers and all the local independent beers, and I haven't touched that in a long time. And I don't have a desire to go for those things. And so a lot of things in my life has changed. I feel a lot more, I don't know, it's because of the meditations I've been doing since last summer when I was taking up runes. Meditation has helped me feel a lot more grounded, and I feel a lot more abundance and mental prosperity. And I've been purchasing less too. I used to buy vinyl records online like crazy during my music. When I was in a band, I would always buy vinyl online and stuff, but I've been saving money. And I'm happy with it. It's different. It's more of a stripped down minimalistic approach to what I'm doing. And I just have that desire to want to absorb more knowledge and more studies and courses online and make myself better and create new services in ways that I could help my clients as well too.
Yeah. I can definitely, me being myself being intuitive, I can definitely see that change in you. And that was some of the reasons why I asked that question is like, I could see it so profound in you. Like it's really, you really work it. You don't bullshit talk about it. You actually work it. You actually work. This is your life. This is it's what it meant to you, and all the changes that have happened too as well. You can see that your energy has changed. Like everything about you has changed too as well, and it comes across in your readings and how you approach life too as well. So I really commend you on that too as well. And
Thank you.
that's part of this whole journey for all of us. For people who are listening, you're finding that one thing that it's amazing what could really change. Just small little things that all of a sudden, like profound things
tarot also gave me a better understanding of myself. Whether it's, I wouldn't call them inner demons, but I used to hold grudges for a long time. I got rid of any revengeful kind of tendencies and just having no feelings against people that I felt slighted me in the wrongest way. And in bridge brain, I've learned to let go of a lot of things thanks to tarot, and become a better person, and a better friend, a better coworker, and a better husband. And that's what I'm glad I got that out of tarot, and I wasn't expecting it at all. And it's not like I'm drinking some cult Kool-Aid or something like that. If people think that if that's the state I'm in, it's not. I mean, I'm perfectly grounded. I have a day job. I mean, I took a day off my day job to do this podcast and that. But I just feel happy. I have no complaints. I think that would be the final tagline would be, I have no complaints and no worries.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I appreciate that too. And hopefully the listeners understand that too as well, that, getting a reading done and finding your thing. And for you, it was tarot cards. And I just find it so fascinating. And I know my listeners are going to find this fascinating too, because I know they've been bugging me. So finally, even though it's not going to be right now, you're not going to see this until a little later on, everybody. Yeah, that being said, Ivan, if people are looking for a tarot card and rune reading, where can they find you on the World Wide Web?
My official website, rebelstartarot.com. And in my book, on the booking section of my site, there's an e-reading section. So if you want a tarot and rune reading, I do it via email. You send me your question, and I create a PDF file. I create a PDF file where you'll see a picture of the actual tarot and rune card and a breakdown of what message came through that reading. So it's an e-reading, basically. I think, yeah, you call them e-readings, and that's what I do. Pretty soon, I want to wait until I finish my rune course to offer a full rune reading on Zoom chat. Otherwise, my tarot readings that I do online is Zoom. I offer 30-minute and 60-minute tarot card readings, which you can all find and book on my site, rebelstartarot.com. And also I'm on Instagram and Facebook at rebelstartarot.
Beautiful. Now, we'll maybe give a little shout out to the wife too as well, because I know she does readings too. So maybe we'll just throw her in there too.
That's true. You just remind me, another service that we offer, me and my wife, Christine, she has her oracle card service called Wisdom Within the Winds. And we offer a special exclusive service we started doing for free twice on Facebook. And we were surprised how well her oracle card messages and my tarot card messages work together collectively for the person asking the question. So we have a service called the Hermit and the High Priestess, which you'll find on my service page also too on rebelstartarot.com. The Hermit and the High Priestess is you get both of us on a Zoom chat for 45 minutes. So that's two perspectives, different perspectives to your question asked. I do tarot, she does oracle card readings, and it's a very special experience that we offer.
Yeah, it sounds so profound. I love the name. That was just, the Hermit and the High Priestess. Yeah, that's fantastic. And that being said, brother, we're out of time here. I'm just going to close off the show.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast.
No, well, thank you for being on there, and thank you for describing tarot and ruins. And I hope people contact you, get a nice reading for you or your wife too as well, or together. And that being said, everybody, I'm just going to close off the podcast here. This has been the Metaphysical Mentor Podcast with Michael Philpott. Thank you so much for joining me, and goodbye for now.